when my girls first started fighting, I found myself feeling very frustrated with my oldest. And I really started to take her side because I felt like she was not sharing well. I felt like she was, she's only like a little over a year and a half older, but I felt like she was the older one. She should know better. And she's had, an extra year and a half of life on this earth. Like she should be the one that's sharing. And I found myself really struggling to not hover and to not be overcorrecting the situation constantly. And I never really allowed my kids to just figure it out. Like I just would constantly come in and be like, well, I'm guiding them and I'm helping them. And as much as I just talked about guiding and helping them, we do have to figure out, like, am I doing this too much? And I find that most parents are doing this too much. It's not often that parents are just letting things go, especially now with all the gentle parenting and respectful parenting. I think parents really feel like they have to be on top of everything. And it's not to say that everything should be let go, right? But really evaluating, is this an opportunity for my children to work through things together? And where I had this epiphany was I was reading the book, How the Eskimos Keep Their Babies Warm. I have recommended this book so many times. I think it's so helpful. But one thing that the Polynesian families do is they really put a lot of responsibility on the other children to help teach the kids how to be a human, how to interact with other kids, how to have relationship. And I thought to myself, well, gosh, I don't have a community of cousins or even, a lot of siblings yet because my kids are, they're the first two to be able to teach them this. But I imagine, if I have 3, 4, 5 kids, I imagine that the older kids will kind of start to teach them how to do that. And so I think it's really important here to evaluate, like, am I in a season where I can kind of let the other children teach them how to act and respond in a way? And then, as a parent, when your child has hit that point of fight or flight, freeze, I'm too far gone, right? And that is that moment just before that we need to step in. And figuring out that just before that is really not easy because we have to really be able to observe and pay attention to our child and know what's triggering for them. What point is them being too far gone, right? And so how can I step in just before that moment? Is there a certain scream? Is there a certain noise? Is there a word that is said that okay, yep, this means I need to step in here? I also learned that the Japanese let their children just fight it out. And when I was reading this chapter, oh my gosh, you guys, my skin was crawling. I was like, I could not imagine. I mean, they literally just let their kids like fight it out. And I don't know if this is like still true as of today. Like I know this book was written a few years ago, but I was just like blown away at the amount of fighting that they allow. And they do say, though, like she said in the book, that research shows that Japanese aren't very confrontational on the outside. And so she wondered if it was because they let their children fight too much and like they were afraid of confrontation, which I could totally see. So I don't know. I want to find a balance and I want to find a happy medium, because I think just letting my kids fight it out and never intervening does not sound right, because I want to, again, be their guide. I want to teach them. I also don't want to be hover mom and constantly just stepping in. And so what can we do to encourage our kids to share? What things can we do to help them build that skill, especially when we're around and we can watch them and facilitate it? So I have 4 things that I think are really helpful when it comes to sharing. So the first thing is to buy a sharing toy or like a sharing bowl or a sharing snack. I went with the sharing snack option first. This felt really difficult because I found that the kids, I would like give them a bag of goldfish and they both want to hold the bag. So it was really difficult. And I think because the bag was something that was very exciting to them. They didn't ever get to eat out of a bag. This felt a little challenging. So we moved to a sharing bowl. And you guys, this was magic, absolutely magic. I shared with both my girls, who are again almost 2 and 4. I was like, hey, I have this thing. It's called a sharing bowl. If you guys want to snack right now, you're going to have a sharing bowl. Can you guys pick a snack that you would both really like? And so let's say they picked goldfish. I'd pour some goldfish in. And I'd say, okay, when you guys are ready, just let me know and I can get you more. And the coolest thing is they would take the bowl and they would run up into their bedroom and they would make a fort and they would sit and they would play for like at least a half hour eating their snack. And I never heard a peep out of them. And I thought, oh, there's no way this is this simple, because my girls can fight. Being so close in age, like they can fight. And sharing it's still difficult. It is still a challenge, but this has given them the skills to help each other work things out. And so I'll hear my oldest say, hey, you're taking too many. Can you please put a few back? And I'm like, oh, she just taught her that taking that many was not appropriate. It was not respectful. And so instead of, my youngest dumping them all out, my oldest is teaching her that that's not okay. That's not acceptable here. And so it's really cool to watch that dynamic happen as they're teaching each other how to make this work, how to make this sharing bowl work. Some people do like to try a sharing toy, something like a soccer ball, something that like isn't one child's favorite. Like you wouldn't want to do, like, say one child's into Bluey and one child's into princesses. You wouldn't want to do like a princess ball, because obviously the child who loves the princesses is going to want the princess ball more. So you want to find something very neutral, but that they would both really love. And they have to share this thing. They have to share this item. And it's really cool to watch them figure out how to use this item together. And maybe it's something like Lincoln Logs or Legos or Magnetiles, and that's their sharing toy. Again, going back to those open-ended toys, this could be a great option. And let's say that they start fighting over it and you're trying to work them through it and they're really struggling, and maybe you have a whole conversation and you think everything's really good, and then they do the thing again, right? This would be a great time to say, okay, I can see you guys are having a really hard time with sharing today. We're going to go ahead and take the Magnetiles for the rest of the day, and then we can try again tomorrow. This also teaches them that they have to work together to keep this thing that they really, really want out. And so for me, this has been super effective in helping my girls to figure out how to share on their own. Number 2 is to try to let them sort things out. And I know that that's really what I've been talking about with all of this, but let's actually step back for a second when we hear. So let's pretend we're hearing something going on, and then let's step back, literally physically step back and listen. And let's hear what's going on without really jumping in. Like first second you hear something going on, just like take a step back, even if you have to count to 10. And if that's all you do today, that's more than enough. Don't worry about doing this perfectly. I say this in so many videos. Don't worry about doing this perfectly. Let's just take one baby step towards letting our kids figure things out, because it is not possible for our bodies to one day be hover mom and the next day be free for all. And maybe you're the parent that's like, I would love to be the parent that's just like, yeah, sure, go ahead, figure it out. But everything in my body, this feels unsafe. I'm feeling fear. I'm worrying. And that is where we need to really look into yourself, find that regulation for yourself, so that way you can show up when your child or your children are needing you to with full regulation. And these things aren't bothering you. For me, that is a sign of a dysregulated nervous system if we are having a really hard time letting our children work things out and sort things out. So I encourage you today to take that baby step into allowing your kids to figure out how to handle sharing and all those situations. Okay, number 3 is going to be modeling sharing, and it starts with you. So just like I had shared in my video about teaching your child to apologize, which this ruffled some feathers, and I was surprised, but also not surprised. But it's like, imagine if we model how to share. And I think as a parent, I didn't realize that I was not doing this well. I was Like, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. Something as specific as my phone, right? I'm constantly saying, like, this is my phone, this is mama's phone. And the truth be told is, this is my phone, which we're going to get to in a minute about not making our kids share things. But it's like, am I sharing with my children, or am I constantly telling them, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine? And if I am sharing with my children, am I letting them know that I am sharing with them right now, that this is a skill that they are building? So I noticed that my girls would ask me every morning for something on my breakfast plate, and I would just give it to them. And one day I was like, actually, this is a moment where I'm sharing with them. So instead of just sitting around the table and saying, yep, here you go, here's a strawberry, I was like, oh, I would love to share my strawberry with you. Would you like me to share my strawberry with you? Yes, I would. And that was an indicator to her that I was sharing, right? So thinking about these moments that you can share with your child and not allow everything to be you, which is really hard because there are things, like I said, such as our phone or our laptop or even like a pen. We're like, oh, this is mine. But let's soften ourselves and let's see what we can give to our children. What moments can we find for sharing? Because that is going to build that skill and show them how to share without actually doing it. And I'm going to be honest with you, out of all of these suggestions I'm giving you, I found this one to be the most effective. I find that my kids use my exact language, even my body language, and how they talk when they want to share, all because they've heard me do it. And so, again, I feel like that's living proof that what I say matters. We've heard the phrase, kids are sponges. They are hearing, they are taking in everything you are saying. So let your words be their inner voice, but allow those words to be positive and helping them to become the adult that you want them to be. And again, I say this all the time, it starts with you. And that's what I do with coaching. I help my clients to discover who they are at their core, so that way they can show up as the parent they want to be. There are these tools that we can utilize as a parent to help us to figure that out. And so that's really what my job is. So if you're interested in that, I do have a link below and you can check out all my coaching stuff. But it's something I'm very passionate about because so many people are like, gentle parenting doesn't work. And, as you guys know, I don't consider myself a gentle parenting coach or one way of parenting, but I do believe that we need to show up. We need to know who we are at our core and feel so confident in that to be able to effectively parent our children in a way that's going to raise them to be good, loving, empathetic humans. Last thing here is, do not make your children share toys that are theirs. We want this to be a conscious choice. So let's say that you have two girls like I do, and they each have baby dolls and they're like their lovies. They're their everything, which this is my girls. I do not make my girls share their babies. I don't make them share their babies with anybody. Okay, nobody. But if somebody wants to play with their baby, they can ask them and they get to make the choice of whether or not they want to let that other sibling or child play with their baby. This for me was really backwards because I felt like, oh, we need to teach them to share everything. But when they trusted that if there was an item that was so important and special to them, that I would not budge, like I would not allow her sister to take the baby, even if she really wanted it and she had a whole meltdown about it, right? But my oldest knew that her baby was her baby and mama was going to protect her baby with her life, right? Like I was going to make sure that little sibling is not going to take her baby. I want you to get really concrete in that because they're going to start to trust you that when something is really important to them, they can express that to you and you can start teaching them how to express that. And so saying things like, hey, I can see that your baby is really important to you, really special, and you don't want to share. Is that what's going on here? My daughter's like, yeah, I don't want to share. And I'm like, I get that because just like my phone is really important and really special to me, right? Like it is something that is mine and I don't want other people using, I get that. And so we each have an item or a couple of items. The thing that we've done with our kids is pretty much any toy is a sharing toy. Since we don't have a lot of toys, that's just kind of how things go. And if there is an item that is special, like just recently, my oldest got this, she calls her Chicky, and it's a little one of those ones that like walks across the floor and it like bounces across the floor. She had got it from church nursery or church preschool, and she was like, oh, this is my favorite thing. And anytime the youngest wanted it, and I knew because this was hers, she had earned it, right? It was really special to her that the youngest could not have it unless the oldest said, sure, you can. And have there been times where the oldest like saw how sad she was and was like, oh, here, you could play with it for 5 minutes or you could play with it for 10 minutes. Yes. But that is all because they have learned to share through their sharing toys, which has, like I said, been a game changer for us. So I think that really wraps up everything about sharing as far as siblings go, and encouraging them and helping them to learn how to share so that way they can come together, they can be friends and figure out that relationship. Because I know that can be really tricky, not only for parents to navigate, but for children to know what to do and how to do that. And so I hope that this gave you some confidence. I hope this gave you some freedom in being able to show up for your kids and giving them some tools and resources to figure these things out on their own.